Thanks for clicking. Canada's economy needs you to get back to borrowing and spending. This, according to the country's banking regulator in its propaganda arm just last week.
Imagine you're pushed out of a plane. This is mortgage prison. The pressure of this mortgage prison. Here's the death spiral, though.
What is wrong with you?
Your boy's different. His IQ's.
And these moves come as Canada's inflation data is coming in a bit hotter than expected from the war with Iran, with inflation coming in at 3.2%, higher than the 3% that had been expected, though obviously that should reverse if negotiations go well, which is obviously a big if. So what I want to do today is very briefly review Canada's inflation data for the month of May, take a look at some of the pressures pushing prices down, even as the government tries to get you to borrow and spend more, and then go over what to look for next. The CBC and its mortgage death spiral has its comments turned off for, as we'll see, pretty good reason. But please let us know in the comments what you think of CBC's characterization of Canadians not being able to take on more debt. We will obviously continue to track the Canadian economy on this channel. Make sure you click like and subscribe if you want to get those updates. But for now, let's get into this inflation data. On to the inflation data. As mentioned, Canada's inflation in May came in at 3.2%. Much to the surprise of no one, the majority of those increases came from rising oil prices. Take out the gas, and inflation would have came in at 2.2. In fact, gas price increases were by far the biggest rising component in the CPI, followed by rent, food from restaurants, cars, and property taxes, whereas major downward contributors were homeowners' replacement costs, household appliances, owned accommodation, travel tours, and natural gas. But the real measures of core inflation that the Bank of Canada cares about, remain largely subdued, with CPI median and CPI trim both remaining unchanged at 2.1 and 2.0 respectively. And the key part is that we didn't see major increases month over month either, with CPI median remaining largely unchanged and CPI trim coming in elevated but nothing overly shocking. Nothing like we saw back in 21 and 22 when what was coming was painted on the wall. Given that it's these measures that the Bank of Canada is watching when deciding whether or not to lower or raise interest rates, I think we should expect continual holds while the bank looks to see what happens in the Middle East. And these holds are especially probable given that, though the Bank of Canada would never admit it as it would reveal its own deception, we also didn't see any big increases in the money supply over the last few months either, remaining unchanged under 6%, well below historical averages, meaning, as of now at least, Canadians aren't borrowing to pay for these gas prices. And since money gets created when banks loan it, and net new money wasn't overly much created to help at the pumps, we probably won't see much long-term inflation stemming from this war with Iran. There just wasn't enough time for Canadians to borrow and spend to pay for these price increases.
Wasn't enough time. We'll get there, Pop.
And on that, did you see the new government-sponsored About That coming from the CBC? The near hysteria that Canadians won't be able to put their credit cards into their houses.
Then they may not want to play ball with you, either by allowing you to extract equity from your home or lengthening the term of your loan.
Yeah, Andrew Chang. Remember that guy, the one that told you on the eve of a trade war with the United States it could be the perfect opportunity for you to buy a home? And to prove that point, he consulted a realtor, another realtor, and another realtor.
Out of that. For those who are willing and able to dive into the housing market, now might be a pretty good time.
Fun fact, the benchmark price of a home in Toronto is now down $122,000 since that stellar advice from the CBC.
I earn it.
Regardless though, he's now back raising the alarm bells, letting you know that 10% of people that bought homes in Toronto 5 years ago won't be able to refinance, won't be able to put their credit cards into their home.
The pressure of this mortgage prison is greatest in major markets like Vancouver and Toronto. Nearly 1 in 10 mortgage holders in the Toronto area won't be able to refinance their loans or renew them with a new lender in 2027 if home prices remain at current depressed levels.
So we had a system that depended on ever-rising valuations, augmented by a steady stream of new buyers, which allowed early investors, early purchasers of homes, to take money out to take their paper profits to pay off previous debts. I think there's a word for that.
Ka-ching.
But yeah, it's a Ponzi scheme. If the system requires that we continually have new entrants so previous investors can take out paper profits, artificially inflated paper profits, then that's a Ponzi. And the government propaganda arm, as of last week, is telling you that the inability for that system to continue to function is a bad thing.
Here's the death spiral, though, as I've seen it described, where you're in a bind because what if the mortgage you were approved for during good times was really at the outer limits of what you could afford? You were already stretched, and then hard times hit. You go to your bank and say, help a guy out.
Right.
Now, don't get me wrong, for those homeowners that are paying 20% on their credit card debt, if they can convert that debt to 4%, then that's a great short-term solution. But the CBC presents this as though it's an ordained right to buy a home, get paper returns, and then throw the price of the boat on it after 5 years.
Hey, Nimrod, buy a house you can't afford. You know what? While you're at it, put a line of credit on that baby and buy yourself a boat.
Yeah, too big to fail. We just did this. Well, Canada didn't do it, but we witnessed it, and now the CBC is encouraging it. Nimrod?
What else did he say?
But we're not just receiving messaging from the government that it's a problem that Canadians can't go deeper into debt. The government is backing that up with action, announcing last week that they're cutting back the amount of capital the banks have to have on hand in an attempt to encourage more lending. Yeah, the banking regulator, OSFI, is reducing the amount of capital that the banks need to hold on hand in case of an economic shock, in an effort, says the banking regulator, to get banks lending amid this structural change, meaning the trade war with the United States. Now, this might sound familiar, and it should, as OSFI actually raised that domestic stability buffer back in June of 2023, citing rising debt levels and the cost of those debt levels. But back then, Canadians had a debt-to-income ratio of 186% compared to the 179% now. So obviously, there's lots of room to play.
Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
Now, if the government really wanted Canadians to borrow, why wouldn't the central bank just cut rates? The official reason would be that the government does not control the central bank. But the other reason is that were the Bank of Canada to prematurely cut interest rates, that would put even more downward pressure on the dollar, which really isn't needed at this point. However, by engaging the propaganda arm and engaging the banking sector, the government can get that stimulus, have you take on more risk, have you take on more debt, and prop up the economy, hopefully without risking the currency.
It's risky.
So yeah, with inflation hopefully set to come down over the next few months, the government, the powers that be, are already working on new stimulus amid the trade war vis-a-vis your credit cards. Already engaging in the government-sponsored propaganda machine to convince you that not being able to put your boat on your home is a bad thing, but also loosening up the banking regulations to get those boat purchases flowing. And that's not even to mention the great big bailout for BC condo developers. Like, for an industry that considers itself the shooters of Canadian residential real estate, they sure can't seem to survive without perpetual handouts.
Sorry, somebody trying to talk to me while I'm working?
But remember, the government has tried to engage this propaganda machine before. They tried it last year on the eve of the trade war, trying to tell you that you could be priced out of the market forever, as this trade war was no doubt going to ignite the housing market. You didn't listen. If you were in Toronto, you saved yourself $120,000 on that benchmark price home. But we can see that this stimulus is starting to ramp back up. We're getting it in the messaging, we're getting it in the easing of restrictions on the banks, and obviously we're getting it vis-a-vis real estate bailouts. But we'll see if it works. As always, continue to watch that money supply. If you don't, we will continue to watch the money supply and its impacts on inflation on this channel. Make sure you click like and subscribe if you want to get those updates. But for now, thanks so much for watching.